If you're looking for some of the latest gaming news, you have come to the right place. We've got stories to share with you tonight. Games returning, studios getting a second chance at life, gaming films and anime, to what the heck is our thumbnail about? What's up everyone, this is Vberg, and welcome to Game Conclave, and thank you so much for joining us on our Sunday night gaming news show. Alright, so first up we're going to tackle one of the two stories tonight, not 100% related to games, but hear me out. The voice actor of the female version of Commander Shepard from the Mass Effect series, Jennifer Hale, a prolific voice actress, has said she thinks that the voice acting cast from the games should be offered minor roles in the upcoming Mass Effect TV show as an Easter egg to the fans. And yeah, I don't know, I kind of agree with her. I think it's really great when they sort of recognize the work that was already done by the games actors, who, by the way, got paid way less than whoever Hollywood hires to play these same characters. Gives them some cash, exposure, and pays a little respect to the work they put in. She, of course, didn't demand this, she just said she thought it would be a really cool thing. So, I don't know, I think that sounds like a really cool idea. Tell me what you think in the comments. The Mass Effect show is currently being developed at Amazon MGM Studios. I'm really not sure how it's going to work exactly, given the fact it's, a choice-heavy game, but I don't know, we'll see what they do with it. Tango Gameworks, the developers behind The Evil Within 1 and 2, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Hi-Fi Rush have had some good news for once. If you're not familiar with Tango Gameworks, the studio is founded by Shinji Mikami, known for his work on games like Resident Evil, Dino Crisis, and Devil May Cry. The studio was bought up by Bethesda, who was then later acquired themselves by Microsoft. Tango then produced the initially Xbox exclusive title Hi-Fi Rush, which Microsoft claimed did quite well critically and commercially, but then they turned around and canned the studio. Now, despite those plans, a South Korean publishing firm, Krafton, the owners of PUBG and Subnautica, acquired Tango Gameworks from Microsoft. And since then, their studio has reopened its doors. And we just wanted to highlight that because that's not something we see a lot of these days, and we really dig it. So hopefully they get another chance to produce some awesome bangers. Speaking of things we don't see every day, a delisted title has returned to the eShop. Triangle Strategy, a strategy RPG, has returned back to the eShop. It was taken down a few months back as the publishing of the game changed hands from Nintendo to Square Enix. I believe this is related to Square Enix's shift in strategy, where they announced, I think it was mid last year, they're going to be moving away from console exclusives as much as they could. I think that they have numbers showing it's really putting a damper in their sales, and they're kind of tired of their titles underperforming. Triangle Strategy was a great game, so I'm glad it's made it back out of that limbo for people to enjoy. I really hope it hits the PlayStation and Xbox someday, because I think it's a really great game. It's clearly an homage to Final Fantasy Tactics, obviously inspired by it in terms of like the storyline and politics and stuff, but it's also doing its own thing in the gameplay, and that works for me. It's got a very slow pace to the story, but the combat was really fun. Had multiple endings and branching paths, and I don't know, I'm just always a big sucker for that kind of stuff. I hope we see more titles return to these stores. A lot of stuff's been getting delisted, and it's really bad for game preservation. This one is just kind of a small snippet, less of a story, but it tied into something I wanted to talk about, so let's just run through it real quick. An analyst has claimed that they have estimates that show that the Microsoft's Game Pass service cost the game about 80% of its lifetime sales it would have gotten on the Xbox. And I don't know whether that number is accurate or not, but I am 100% certain it does cost those games some sales. Whether it's to that extent or not, I really can't say, but I do want to segue that into something I feel that's important from engaging with media on any streaming or rental service or anything like that. If you play a game and you love it, make sure to do those developers a favor, because if you've played that game through that streaming service, they're not getting the full value. So make sure if you loved that game, you go out and you buy it, whether it's physical, digital, I don't care. I got a buddy, and he's really bad about that. He loves to play everything on Game Pass, and I can't tell you how many times he's then complained to me about some favorite game studio of his, or some game, he loved had his server shutting down. And I'd always ask him, did you ever go out and buy a copy? And he'd be like, no, I didn't. It's like if you love a game and it's this important to you, buy a copy. I don't care if you wait till it's on sale, deep discounted, whatever, just pick up a copy of games you love. Next, I want to talk about something we just don't see enough of in gaming, and yes, this is the first topic that relates to part of the thumbnail, just a part of it. And that is when developers do a great job, and we hear about them being rewarded by their publishers, CEOs, boards, whatever. So the example we've got is Stellar Blade. It came out, it got good reviews, it sold well, and due to the game's success, the developers have been rewarded. Everyone on staff got a PS5 Pro and a $3,400 bonus, and it's just awesome. You know, I mean, we're always hearing about all these studios getting shut down or people getting laid off, and it's really nice to hear about developers who did good for once. That they got rewarded. Their games met their goals. They didn't get laid off, because we've even heard about games like Hi-Fi Rush where they supposedly met their goals and then they still got canned. So I don't know. It's so nice to see something positive for the people who make the games we all love for once. This is the kind of story I want to see more of over the next few years. I hope we see more stuff like this, especially since so much of that game's conversation seemed to be about controversies about Eve and her assets rather than the game itself. Speaking of Eve's assets, that's a beautiful segue into our next topic, which is related to the other part of the thumbnail, and that is we may all be smelling our games one day. That's right, Sony has formally debuted at the Consumer Electronics Show their plan for smell-o-vision. If you don't know, there was a patent by Sony a while back based around the idea of smelling your games. And they debuted that technology and what it looks like in its current state at the consumer event, where you would essentially stand in a box of screens and play The Last of Us, and it would pump smells, I guess that they think are associated with the game while you're playing it. And all I gotta say is, when I'm playing Uncharted, I don't want to smell Nathan Drake's like 6-day-old rank pits as he's been wandering around in some Malaysian jungle lost. I don't know why I would want to smell that, and I don't want to smell like a fetid, rotting corpse on the side of the road in The Witcher 3. You know, like I don't know. Is this a level of immersion that people are looking for? I don't feel like I am. Maybe that's just me. This seems really gimmicky and impractical, and obviously since it's like a giant box of screens with a smell box in the center, how do you scale that down to the individual consumer level? I've seen that some of these devices apparently exist already, some other similar ideas. I have never heard of anyone using them. But what do you guys and gals think about this? Do we want gaming to advance to the point where we can smell the stench of the dino's breath as it's about to eat us? I think the only game I could think of, like off the top of my head, that I would want to smell anything in is like a Vanillaware game. Like, you get to cook all those delicious food. Like, yeah, I want to smell what that smells like. I don't know. What else would this apply to? What games do you want to smell? If there's any games you're dying to smell, let us know about it down in the comments. As I mentioned earlier, we had two stories today that were not 100% related to games, but were game adjacent enough we felt we could include them. Since we're already talking about Sony and their obsession with smells, Ghost of Tsushima is getting an anime based on the Legends multiplayer mode, and will be produced by Aniplex. Horizon Zero Dawn is getting a movie produced by Columbia Pictures, and Helldivers will also be getting a film. Licensed movies and shows are, sometimes pretty ho-hum, but we'll wait to see what happens. The Fallout show came out, and that was pretty good. We saw a ton of success for them, translated into boosts in sales. So hopefully the people working on these upcoming animes and movies treat the shows with as much respect as Fallout got, and that their fan bases expect. Capcom has announced a second open beta for Monster Hunter Wilds. This will take place from February 6th to 9th, and from the 13th to 16th of February. The beta will support cross-platform play between PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC. In addition to retaining the hunts and quests from the original open beta, a new hunt mission will be added in, and Capcom has again confirmed that quest and story progress you make in this open beta will not carry over. But if you participate in the open beta, you will get some bonuses in terms of raw materials and a pendant. So you're not going to get a jump start to the game, But if you just got that Monster Hunter itch and you're fiending to dive into hunts, and you can't wait till the game's release on February 28th, make sure you get in on this open beta. Assassin's Creed Shadows has been delayed once again. It was supposed to come out on February 14th, just before Monster Hunter Wilds, and I think that they very wisely moved it away from Monster Hunter to give Monster Hunter a lot of breathing room. Shadows will now be coming out on March 20th. The developers have stated that this is to make sure that they incorporate player feedback and extra polish into the game, and I hope that's true. I love the Assassin's Creed series, and it feels like they just kind of lost their way lately. I really hope they kind of pull it together on this release and knock it out of the park. It's a great series. Some of my favorite gaming experiences of the 7th generation were in Assassin's Creed games, and unfortunately it looks increasingly likely that Ubisoft are going to end up selling to Tencent though, and I know that would be very disappointing to me because Tencent is already a behemoth of a publisher, and I don't really think all the consolidation we're seeing has a good effect on the industry. It would be nice to see publishers kind of get back in the habit of just making good games and getting it together rather than just flopping about and then selling all their IPs and off to some bigger publisher. I think the level of consolidation going on in the industry is just a disaster for creativity. It feels like the game companies are getting just too big, too massive, and I think that's why the indie and AA scenes are just really thriving lately. These monstrous publishers there's too many people in suits, too many marketers, stuff going on like that, and I just can't imagine Ubisoft's franchises being better off in the hands of someone even more risk-averse than Ubisoft themselves. And last up, we've got a sort of Microsoft story, sort of Nintendo story. It's just the latest bit of the rumor mill on the Switch 2. I know. The rumors about the Switch at this point everyone's whipped up into a frenzy, dying to be able to get their exclusive scoop, Switch 2 news, whatever. But this one's just kind of interesting to us. It ties into rumors, and we've already heard quite a bit of rumblings about these kinds of things, and they have turned out to be true. And that rumor is that Microsoft's games coming to other platforms, and specifically, the rumor is that Halo, Gears, Fable, and probably a few of their other really big titles will be hitting the PlayStation 5 and the Switch 2. So that would just that would be kind of crazy if the Switch 2 has Microsoft titles on it, because Microsoft tried to buy Nintendo out at one point in time, and Nintendo just laughed at them. They didn't. They thought it was a joke. They just totally laughed at them. They didn't care at all. And now Microsoft's kind of the console straggler this generation, and they're going to be potentially porting their games to Nintendo's consoles. So we'll see if this rumor turns out to be true. I do think it's going to happen. I feel like Microsoft is trying to kind of move out of the console game. They seem really obsessed with Game Pass. It feels like that's their strategy. They just seem to constantly be doubling, tripling, and quadrupling down on it. And I'm sure Nintendo will be happy to take advantage of it. I'm not sure it's the right strategy for Microsoft, but as I've said in another video, they're the big corporation with stacks of cash. I'm just a moron with a microphone. So I'm not going to say no to replaying the Gears trilogy or some couch co-op Halo titles with my wife if they release them on the Switch 2. So what about you? Any Microsoft titles you potentially looking forward to on the Switch 2? Thank you so much for tuning in to our weekly news show. We've been checking out all the comments, loving all your posts. Thanks so much for all the great feedback. It makes us so excited. Please don't forget to subscribe, give us a like, and leave us a comment. It'll help us grow. And as always, thank you so much from all of us here at Game Conclave.